Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in again. We have got the truck loaded up. We're heading out camping tomorrow morning. So I thought no better time than to remove the rear sway bar. I'm going to have a long trip. I'll be able to test it on the highway, a little bit of curves, a little bit of city driving, a little bit of off-road. So it'll be a good time to test it. And like I said, the truck's fully loaded. So of course, if you have a bunch of weight in the truck, it's going to handle differently than if you have nothing in the truck. So we're going to remove it. If you've been watching for a while, you probably know, but if you're new, we did remove the front sway bar. Yes, we did get a little bit more sway. I wouldn't say anything too crazy. You really, 90% of your day, I'd say 90%, you don't even realize it's gone. If you have really long sweeping corners that are pretty sharp, like maybe going off on an on-ramp or an off-ramp on the highway, you kind of feel it a little bit more. But say like turning corners and stuff at slower speeds, just at normal city driving, you don't really notice it at all. And I'm going to test out the back now. We're going to remove it. It'll have no sway bars left. So we'll see how it handles. So let's get under the truck and I'll show you exactly what you got to do. All right, so under the truck, now this is pretty much the easiest thing you can do on here. If you want to remove these or you want to test it, you don't have to necessarily remove the whole sway bar. We're going to take it right out. But if you want to just do a test, you can just disconnect it. So if you're taking it off, you got 2 bolts there, you got 2 bolts there. Those are 14 mil. That has to come off. And then all you have left is where your end links are. This is a 17 mil. Same with up top right there. Same on both sides. The one over there as well. 17 millimeter. So if you want to just disconnect it to give it a test, I recommend just do the bottom one. You can swing it down out of the way. Just make sure you're not going over any crazy obstacles because you're going to have a sway bar swinging underneath. But at least if you have your end links disconnected, the truck's going to act as if the bar is not there at all. So for me, like I said, we're taking it off completely. But I'm going to do the one up there because, again, I don't want to have my end link here just hanging and dangling around. So we're going to get it out of there. And then while I'm under here as well, this happens from time to time, this chain starts hanging for your spare tire. If you look up in there, there is actually a little rubber kind of like a plate almost. You can just push that up. You'll need 2 hands to kind of force it. And then the chain will just sit up here and it won't be dangling underneath your truck. Just a side note. All right, so we got that one out. And as well as the other side, there's a little trick to it because I'm going to tell you right now, I had to hit them with a little bit of WD-40 just to loosen them up because they do have the grime on them. But there is a little trick I will show you once we get it out from under the truck. So now all you got to do is the easy 4. You got the 2 there on the hanger and the 2 there on the other side of the hanger. And then this thing literally will just drop right out. So keep in mind, it will drop right out. Don't let it land on your face. But we'll get those out, and I'll show you the trick if you're having trouble to get this off of your own truck. All right, and now just like that, the whole sway bar drops out, and it's out of the way. Now, keep in mind, those 4 are very tight. I needed the breaker bar to break them loose. Once they broke loose, it's easy. You could almost thread it by hand to come off. I don't know if it had a little bit of Loctite or whatever on it at one point. But again, those were a little bit tight, so you'll either need a lot of muscle or a breaker bar. And keep in mind when you're dropping this thing down, so you don't drop it on your face, you see how one side is notched and one side is the hole. So when you release them, do the top 2 first and then do the bottom ones, otherwise it'll fall on your face. Or if you're going to hold it, do the bottom 2, do one side. As long as one stays tight, it might drop a little bit like that, but it's not going to fall right out on you. And then you can kind of hold it and either wrench or impact the last one off, and then it's just going to drop in your hands and you can slide it out of the way. So that's a little trick for those parts. And then the biggest thing I would say if you're going to have trouble is getting those guys off. Because if you look at end links, the way they're built is you got a couple options for these. Because if the nut, like I sprayed this with WD-40, you can see it's all over my hand. And I was lucky enough for it to come off. But if you can't, what happens is the nut gets stuck, and this whole thing, because this is a joint, it's able to spin. So the whole bolt will spin if the nut's not coming off. So you got a couple options. Your plate sits here and your nut's on this side. So you get, for this specific truck, a Torx 40 bit will fit in the end there. And you can hold it with a Torx 40 or the right size Allen key. And then if you have a ratchet wrench or just a box wrench, you can slowly turn it off. It's a pain in the butt, but it does work. That's actually what I ended up having to do. And then if you have trouble with that, or you don't have the right size key for the end here, or you just don't want to be wrenching all day, this right here is actually 21 millimeter on this truck. For some reason, they're all different. If you want to take the top off, this is a 21 mil. This nut was 19. This nut that I was talking about earlier is an 18. So you need a whole set of tools just to do this stuff. I don't know why they're all different, but they are. But basically, if this thing is spinning and you don't want to wrench that slowly off, put a wrench on here. You can see it's got two little flat edges. It's not a full nut, but it's got two flat sides. Get your wrench on there, and that's going to stop it from being able to spin inside here. So it'll save you a lot of headache. If you have an impact, you should be able to hold it on. Maybe even if you're lucky enough, if you zip it with the impact right away, it'll get enough momentum to just kind of pull itself off, even if you do have a bunch of gunk and stuff like that on there. But that's a little trick to know. Put a wrench on there and you'll be able to spin the other side without it all spinning on you, because you could do that for months and it's not going to come undone. All right, so there you go, guys. Sway bar is completely gone. I forgot to mention, or I think I forgot to mention, put your two nuts or your four bolts, not nuts, put your four bolts back in the holes and tighten them down. That way, if you decide to put this thing back on, you don't have to worry about losing the hardware. It's going to be there ready to go for you. You can just zip off the bottom two. The top one, like I showed you, is notched. You don't even have to take it all the way out. But again, you can pop it in there. You're not having to find anything. And then as for the end link portion, which is the nut, put the nut back on the tip of the end link. And again, if you want to put this back on at some point, you can put it on and you're not going to have a headache of having to go and find new hardware to bolt it back up to your truck. And then second is, if you want to see, I'm going to drive this around for a few weeks. I'll give you an update like I did with the front one, because now the front and the rear is off. So of course it's always hard to see in the videos exactly what I'm feeling. I'll do my best to explain it to you guys, what differences I feel, if any. But again, if you want to see that, make sure to like and subscribe. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know it's quite a simple thing, but if you wanted to see it, this is how it's done. So hopefully you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.